Hi, I'm Erin. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I'm a student at Minerva.
Hi, my name is Ting. I'm from Singapore, also a student at Minerva, class of 2021.
Yeah, so we're here to have another Facebook Live session. We've got a deadline coming up pretty soon, so just remember January 15th, that's the regular Decision 2 deadline. Just keep that in mind. And we'll start some questions. If you have any, feel free to type them into the chat and we'll hopefully get to any of the questions you have. If not, there's a ton of more resources and material online on our website. You can always talk to us on the website or email us, and we'll hopefully be able to answer all of your questions. We're going to start off with kind of describing what the typical day or week at Minerva is like. Ting, you want to start with what a typical day at Minerva is for you?
That's a little hard. I'd say most Minerva students don't have a typical day or week, aside from classes in the day, readings in the afternoon, and then we sort of like do whatever we feel like we want to do. So there are people who cook, there are people who go out and interact with the city. I'm going to salsa classes tonight. That's really fun.
That is really cool.
Yeah, what do you do?
For me, typical day, definitely classes, readings. I like to go out and like explore the city too. On days, not like today since it's raining, but days where it's clear, I like to go on runs to different parts of the city that I've never been to before, just to try to see what things are like, and it's a good way to both stay active and to get around the city too. In a week-long perspective though, it's definitely a lot of classes, assignments, but Fridays and stuff tend to be fun with co-curriculars and everything as well. Some things that kind of like surprise you when you get to Minerva is like, you know, it's a college, you expect to have a lot of work, and there is a lot of work, but you do get a lot more free time than you might think. Like, we do have a lot of time to, you know, go out and explore the city, to go take salsa classes in places, and to kind of just discover who we are as a community, as people, and as parts of the city as well. Like, what's something that kind of surprised you coming here?
I think, like, before coming here, I already knew that Minerva was diverse, but experiencing it is different. Like, Minerva is really diverse, right? We might be US-based college, but we have, like, less than a quarter of our school population being American. It's really cool. Like, my closest friends are, like, from Morocco, Jordan, Mongolia. My roommate is Pakistani, and it's like, it's so crazy because you get to meet people from so many like different places and cultures, and they all think differently. But you know, like what seems right to you, like what seems wrong to you might be right to others, and it's always worth like hearing them out, and like you just learn so much, like both in class and out of class. I think that's something that really surprised me.
Yeah, it's definitely cool because there's so many perspectives, right? Like it brings a lot to class discussions when you're talking about topics that, you know, you might have very, you know, particular opinions on, partially because of the way you were raised, your culture, whatever, and then there's someone who has, you know, completely different background, completely different views on it, and it's really interesting to hear that kind of side from a different light that you might not have thought of before. I want to talk about favorite Minerva memory so far.
That's a bit hard. I think my favorite Minerva memory would be the end of foundation week that we went to Ocean Beach.
Yeah,
that was really nice. So when we came to SF at the start of the year, we had this thing called foundation week, which is like an orientation week for students, right? For you to get to know each other and stuff. And we ended on a really high note at Ocean Beach. It was really nice. You should Google up images of Ocean Beach. It's just beautiful, and it's just so nice to like we ended the night with like songs and dancing, and it felt like I was truly part of like a new community, and it was just really nice. I think that's like my favorite memory. It's really
that one was definitely really cool. The sunset at Ocean Beach, like on any like normal day, is gorgeous. Highly suggest going there. And just, like being able to be that community was super cool. I also have a really good memory of our first feast that we had too. Minerva has, you know, we like having these things called feasts where usually it's student run and sometimes for this one, since it was our first, it was also faculty run as well. And if you end up coming to Ascent, we're going to put on a feast for you guys as well. We aren't going to spoil anything. It's, always going to be a bit of surprise what the feast is, but it's a great experience to just like sit down and have a real meal with people for the first time, which was what that like first feast for us really was. And it was really kind of challenging in some ways because of the aspect and nature of the feast that was our first one, and also just because you're talking to people you haven't ever really met before, but definitely came out of it with more friends, more connections, and I think a better outlook on Minerva just as a community and as a school. So that's definitely one of my favorite memories. You want to talk about some of the Mikos you're in?
Right, so Mikos are Minerva communities for short, are basically like student interest groups or student clubs, same as any other school, right? So I'm currently involved in the Salsa Miko and the Entrepreneurship Miko. We have a bunch of other Mikos as well. Like I think we have a robotics one.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we have a robotics one. We have the finance one, dabbling a little bit into investment. That's pretty cool. And like with Mikos, you get to connect with like students who share similar interests as you. And at the same time, like you get to hold like student-run events for the school community and for the community in the city outside of the school. So what's really nice is we have an art Miko, right?
Yeah.
And recently they had this like pop-up art. They had this pop-up art event in a public parking space in San Francisco, where they used boxes to come up with like platforms for students to display their art. There was poetry reading, there were like songs and music. That was really nice. Like it was a way to bring students together and show like the Minerva community spirit to the San Francisco city, which was really nice.
Yeah, that one was really cool for sure. There's also a lot of other Mikos, and if there's not a Miko that exists that you're interested in, or if there's a Miko that you want to create really badly because you have like this dying need to create a Miko for gardening or something. I don't think we have a gardening Miko.
No.
And if you're super passionate about that, I promise you, when you come to Minerva, you will find someone else who is also really passionate about gardening. Like, you can talk to anyone here at Minerva and they'll tell you that if there's something they're interested in, there's going to be at least one other person who is. And you can create that Miko yourself as well. So any Miko idea you have, as long as it's not, gonna like hurt anybody, we try to stay away from that kind of stuff. It's a go. Yeah, so Mikos are great and fun and everything. But of course, like, Minerva's not all just like fun and games too. Like, it is a school. We do take classes. We do get grades. So there are some challenging things. Do you have anything specifically, like, most challenging experience for you, Ting?
I think the most challenging experience here, I think it's the transition to an independent learning environment. So here at Minerva, we really try to, I think the school really tries to leave it in the hands of the students. It's like self-directed learning. I mean, the professors are still there to guide you, to prompt you, to provide you with some like directions here and there. But ultimately, like, how much you learn from it and like how well you grasp the concept, it depends on how willing you are to try and to work through the material regularly. And I think that like transitioning from like a high school that gave me like lecture notes that I could just read and then just just study it and then like throw it out on an exam paper. It's very different here where we apply it. We actually have to apply it to real life situations. But I really appreciate like such opportunities because like it makes like what I learn more relevant, more applicable to the world, and like it really, like you learn about things in a more realistic way without like all the assumptions and like the models that you use like in textbooks, and I really like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely challenging to kind of get used to the way Minerva does have us learn, and for me, part of that was definitely time management. For me, it was like you have your class time, and then you have, when your assignments are due and everything, but being able to manage your time so that you're effectively studying for class, doing all of the outside things that you want to do as well, still, cooking for yourself, taking care of yourself, and just, having an overall good experience is definitely takes a bit of adjusting and getting used to. And time management is definitely something that was challenging for me, of balancing everything together. So, you kind of just have to adjust and get used to it. And I found a balance that works for me, and I think most people by now have found a balance that works for them as well. So I think everything's good in that sense, but don't think that you can come to Minerva and just not be challenged, because that's kind of the whole goal.
Yeah, but it's very rewarding.
Yes.
I like it very much, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, too, that they have us learn. Like, I personally had no knowledge of, like, anything coding before coming to Minerva at all. And then they kind of just tell you, you need this for some of your classes, and they give you resources and stuff to start learning and everything. And, like, I didn't really know how to approach it, but, like, going through it and actually doing it, I realized, like, this is something that's, like, really cool and fun and stuff, right?
Yeah,
so
that's really nice.
Yeah, there's lots of challenges that you'll probably end up meeting, and a lot of fun things that come along with the challenges, too. So it depends on your mindset, I guess, and we're hoping that everybody who comes here is going to have a lot of fun with all the challenges that you come to face and everything else as well.
So the next question we have here is, how many classes do we take, how long are classes, and how do you prepare for classes? So in the Cornerstone year, because we're both freshmen, we all take pre-allocated Cornerstone courses. So they're basically 4 courses that cover a breadth of disciplines, but through covering a breadth of disciplines, they teach us like soft skills that are relevant and highly applicable to like any scenario. So we each take 4 classes at the moment. Freshmen all take 4 classes. Each class is 1.5 hours long, and for each class, so we have readings, and these readings are materials that kind of like set the foundation for what's going to be discussed in class. We have readings, and then like I kind of like to, when I sit down to prepare for class, I kind of like to review the previous class and the concepts or skills that we're covering for the current class, and then like kind of try to draw connections between them, try to like get a feel of like what's going to be discussed in class and how I can like best contribute in class, or like if I have any questions or doubts that I'd like to be clarified during class. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, so definitely, you'll have pre-class work sometimes, but if you've ever heard of what a flipped classroom is, that's really how we like to run our classes here, where instead of having like you get your lecture and then you take notes on the lecture and then you get homework after the class, we like to do it where you are reading the material, you have a study guide, sometimes you'll have pre-class work, sometimes you won't, and then you will look at that, and then you'll go to class, and it'll be mostly discussion-based in class. So in that sense, like, the classes are really driven for interacting with other students, getting people's opinions, and the professors are there to really help guide you and fill in the information that you might not have grasped completely from the readings, and to help you like deepen your knowledge about what we were reading about. So classes tend to be really fun too. Like they are 1.5 hours long, which can be a little taxing for paying attention and being engaged for that long. And a lot of like classes that you might have had in high school might not have been like that, where sometimes you can just sit in the back and zone out because the teacher's not going to call on you because you're a good student or whatever. Here at Minerva, that's not what it's like. You do have to be paying attention the entire class time because teachers will call on students that aren't talking a lot. There's teachers who we get put into breakout groups too, where we have to engage with other students and do activities in class, and then we come back and we have to discuss. And there's just a lot of things going on in class, so it can be pretty taxing, but it's also really rewarding because you come out of class knowing a lot more, I think, than what you go into it. It's also really fun to listen to what other students are saying. Like, there are some people who have like just blows my mind some of their comments of how can you think of that in class time? Like whoa, and it's like yeah. So it's pretty cool to see how everybody else is reading or interpreting the same material that you're reading.
Yeah, so moving on to learning outside of the classroom. So Minerva travels to the 7 cities because we believe that global exposure is going to add value to our education, right? So my favorite learning experience so far would be on a co-curricular where I had the opportunity with a group of Minerva students. We attended a tour around one of the more low-income districts of San Francisco. It was a co-curricular organized by Code Tenderloin. It's actually a non-profit organization that hopes to bring people out of homelessness by teaching them simple coding skills, providing them with computers and charging sockets, So I was able to learn a bit more background into the homelessness issue in San Francisco, and I was able to interact with the many non-profit organizations in the city that were here to help support the homeless, and I thought that was really nice. It was like an underground experience, and I had so many of my assumptions challenged and overturned, and it was just, I'd say that was one of my favorite learning experiences. It's hard to say, it's very easy to just forget about people who are less, who are not as advantaged as you are, and I think it was a reminder for me to stay humble and to put whatever I learned to good use to help people.
Yeah, I also think that some of the other really good learning experiences that I've had also involve some of the class assignments that we end up getting. We get location-based assignments for everywhere we go, so it's not like we can just take class from wherever. We really are, our curriculum is designed around the cities that we're in, so we have location-based assignments, and some of the ones that we had last semester had us engaging with different organizations in the city, as well as going to different places, gathering data and doing research in the cities that we're in, and writing up reports about it, writing our opinions about it, how we feel, things like that. So it's a lot of it makes you really feel like you're a part of the city and doing something to actively kind of engage and make a difference, which is really cool, I think. So that's definitely one of the learning experiences that I've liked a lot. But also, it's like Wei Ting was talking about, we have some really cool co-curriculars that we have. Co-curriculars are basically where on Fridays we have these classes that, well, they're kind of like classes where we take what we're learning in class and we go and we meet with some organization like Code Tenderloin, and they basically help us take what we're learning in class and apply it to these real life situations to help learn how to apply things in real life, and just to get a broader understanding of what it is that we're actually learning and how we can use that, not just in the ways that these organizations are showing us, but also applying it to different scenarios as well.
So the next question we have is, how do you describe Minerva to your friends, and what are their responses?
So whenever I describe Minerva to my friends, it tends to be a little hard, just because Minerva is definitely not a traditional university. So when you talk to someone and you say, yeah, I take classes online, a lot of times people will assume oh, you go to an online university. And kind of like how we've mentioned, Minerva's not just an online university. We do a lot of stuff engaging with cities. All of the students live together. We take classes together. So while we're taking classes online, it's really a lot different than most other online universities, just because we are building an effective community. We are engaging with the city organizations, getting very useful real-life experience and help from faculty and staff and other students as well, just to create this kind of more of an experience than you would get at an online university. But it's also a lot different than traditional universities in the sense too, where like we do have clubs and things like traditional universities do, but we also have, you know, this whole global experience thing where we're not in the same place for 4 years. We're traveling all around the world. We don't get to, you know, buy all your dorm stuff once and stay in the same place and get to use that 4 years. You know, you've got to learn how to adapt to new environments, find out the new things you need, like what we're going to need in Berlin, we're probably not going to need in Hyderabad, like two totally different climates, two totally different cities. So there's a lot more challenges that come with Minerva, but there's also a lot more fun things too, like the classes and the resources that we have here with just that the Minerva can offer students is really great. So I like it a lot.
I think when it comes to describing Minerva to my friends, I bring it down to like two things. The one thing is really the global rotation, because I really value like this kind of like global exposure. I value like having the opportunity to interact with people in different countries, and not just in a very like temporal manner. You know, like I just go there for like a week on a holiday and leave. I actually get to live and play and like learn there, and that's really an opportunity that's hard to come by. Like I really enjoy meeting new people in San Francisco. I've made a few friends, a few like networks, and I think like if I ever need things in the future, I can actually like turn to them for help. Like I've met people at networking events, and like they're really willing to help me in like my internship applications and reviewing my resumes, or like just connecting me with people, you know, and that's really nice. Another thing I would bring Minerva down to would be like the self-directed learning part. I really like that Minerva lets me pursue whatever I'm interested in. There's really like no limits to how much you can learn at Minerva. Like for example, I think it's in the last 2 years of our curriculum, right? Mm-hmm. Where we get 2 senior tutorials. We get to pick like whatever topic we want in our major and go in depth into it with our professor. We basically design our own curriculum, and we can learn whatever we want to learn, and that's really nice. In addition to that, there's also a lot of flexibility in the kind of assignments that we do. Like traditional universities, you might have finals, right? So you have exam papers that basically test everything that was taught in the course. But for us, we have final projects. There's a lot of flexibility. Normally, they give you a research question or a broad topic, and you get to choose how you want to approach it. So one research question, you can approach it in terms of an analysis essay, or you might come up with an algorithm to like test something, or like a scientific study. It's really cool how like Minerva gives you that flexibility to explore what you want to explore, as long as you demonstrate like the skills and concepts that you were taught over the term. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. The final project stuff I think is super cool because we get put in like groups for our final projects too. So we have groups of, I think it's about 4 people, and like everybody has a different question. Some of them are somewhat related. Mine has to deal with like doing murals, I think, as a form of like social activism.
Oh,
what's your final
cool.
project question?
So mine's about designing and preparing exit strategies to minimize the number of crash and burn startups in San Francisco. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Launchpad into like entrepreneurial studies and stuff.
Yeah.
And also because like there's not much emphasis on like preparing exit strategies in terms of helping a startup in achieving success. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. So yeah, that kind of just goes to show that there's a wide variety of, you know, final project questions. While Minerva will provide some, like we also have students who come up with their own as well. So like if you don't like any of the final project questions, you can submit yours, and if people like it, you can end up having a final project team with your own final project question as well, which is really cool, which kind of just goes to show the flexibility you were talking about it. And it just also makes it that it's something that you're going to be interested in because you choose it yourself. So it's a lot of fun working on final projects. Like we work on them throughout the whole year for us, so it's really cool.
So some common characteristics of Minerva students.
Loud. Well, not all of them. but there are some loud Minerva students, but that's fun and fine. And then there are some quiet ones too. It depends on who you're talking to, where you are, but it's a lot of fun. If you are a loud person or an extroverted person and you want to find other people who are going to be out there and, doing lots of things that, are whatever you want to be doing, then there's going to be people like that. And if you prefer just like sitting in your room and watching movies, there's people who will do that with you too. So there's few like very common characteristics, but I'd say there's like definitely whatever you want to find is there.
Yeah, I'd say, like any other school community, we have people of various personalities. You'll definitely find somebody who you can connect and relate with.
Yeah.
I think, though, Minerva students are pretty curious.
Mm-hmm.
I find that they're very open-minded and curious. So, like, for example, you might come from a different culture, but the way we interact with each other to ask each other about, like, each other's, like practices, traditions, beliefs, I feel that like students here, we try to keep a very open mind and learning about others and how they see things. We are also pretty like inquisitive and like curious.
Yeah.
Like we don't just take things at face value, We're not happy with that.
Yeah.
We read something and then we ask why 3 times about it, about different parts of the statement. But I really appreciate that because like it really forces you to think harder and more critically about like the things that you see and read.
Yeah. For sure. Minerva students, if you tell them anything, they will challenge you about what you're saying. Minerva students also like do tend to at least have like a baseline of intelligence too. You're not going to come here and point at someone and be like, wow, that person's not very smart. It's very hard to do that here at Minerva. So that would also kind of be something that's more of a common characteristic of students, though. Of course, it'll depend on the situation that people are in, too.
Yeah. So moving on to the admissions process. Could you tell us more about the challenges that are in the admissions process, and do you guys have any tips?
Well, yeah. So the challenges are supposed to be challenges. Some people will probably find them more challenging than others, but it's going to be however you kind of take it as being. So the challenges, there's 5 sections. You are going to have a like reading comprehension section, there's a math section, there's a creativity section, then there's like a writing and speaking section that kind of go together, or at least you'll have to take them at the same time. And so the best way to kind of prepare for the challenges is to just have a good night's sleep, have your thinking cap on, and to just be ready for whatever we throw at you. And don't expect it to be just, like an everyday kind of test, but be ready for anything really for the challenges.
I also think the challenges are kind of like engaging and fun, or at least that was what I felt when I started doing them. So at the start, like when I saw the challenges part, I was like, whoa, wait, so it's like a test? But like it really gets easier once you get started on it. And I found it fun because like the challenges aren't very long. I wouldn't say they're very long.
Yeah, no. They wouldn't take you more than like an afternoon to get through all of them if you really wanted to just sit down and do it, which you should if you're planning on getting your application in by January 15th. Just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so knowing that, the 5 sections for the challenges, what they are, and like it's really not going to be as hard as you think it is. And if you're really worried about like not doing good on the challenges, like this is going to make or break my application, like it probably won't. Like it's better for you to have like a solid application, like a decent application for all 3 sections, the personal information, the challenges, and then your accomplishment section, than to just have like phenomenal challenges scores and not really worry about the other 2, because the other 2 matter just as much. The challenges are weighted just as much as the other 2. When I first took the challenges, I didn't even end up completing one of the sections, and I still got into Minerva, so like if you're really worried, like it's not going to be as bad as you think it is.
So what was your favorite part of the application?
I think I definitely liked the challenge section the most just because it was so different than any other application that I had filled out. Like, it was, I was filling this out my senior year, tons of other applications to all these other schools where you have to write essays and all this stuff. And for Minerva, they're just like, here, take this cool, like, test. And it's almost like one of those, like, online quiz things. And it's, like, kind of fun to do in a sense. And even though it's a part of your application process, it's also just really cool to be, in a way, challenged, because I was definitely challenged by the challenges. And it was fun, and it wasn't as stressful, I think. I was more stressed after the challenges than, like, before or while I took them.
Okay.
Which is a little weird, but I had a lot of fun taking them, which I guess is why I didn't find it very stressful.
I think for me, my favorite part was the accomplishments. I really appreciate how like Minerva allows you to define like accomplishments for yourself. It's really nice to have like a college consider more than what's like traditional. So although Minerva does value traditional accomplishments like leadership positions, academic like competitions, and like community service, for me at least, like the bigger accomplishments might have been like failures or like hardships where I learned like a lot from, but like it's something I take pride in like overcoming. So for example, one of my accomplishments, I put like I sprained my ankle and it was really bad and it took me 4 months out of like my training season. But like I still managed to place second because like I trained really hard and it's the journey that counts for me, and like I was really glad that like I had the opportunity to share like things that were really important to me and my personal growth in that part of the application.
Yeah. Minerva's accomplishment section is really what you make it to be, which is super nice.
So, a piece of advice you received when applying for Minerva?
Well, when I was applying for Minerva, I don't think I'm the best person to answer this question because a lot of people didn't really know a lot about Minerva when I was applying for it, and I would say the best piece of advice was like, it's a free application, just do it if you get in. Like, it's never going to be a wasted opportunity because there's nothing to waste, which I thought, like, what else am I going to do? So I applied to Minerva and I got in, and it ended up, being the school of my dreams, and I came here and I'm having a wonderful time. So, like, that's probably the best advice, is that even if like you don't think your parents would ever let you, or you think it's gonna cost too much, or it's just not gonna be the right thing for you, apply anyways and have the option there just in case.
Yeah, I think for me it'd just be like, you only regret the chances you don't take, as cliche as it might sound. So I chanced upon Minerva via an email, and I was really excited by it. Clicked on it, went to look through the website, shared about it with my friends. I was like, does this school even exist? And my friends were like, you should definitely go for it. Like, it's like my friends knew like that this was the kind of school and learning environment that I would thrive in, or like I would really enjoy and value. And I'm really glad that like my friends gave me that encouragement to just apply. It might seem very arbitrary, especially because it's so small, it's so new, you don't know anybody that's graduated from it, you don't know anybody who's heard from it. You just basically know it through your computer screen, so it feels very arbitrary, but I'm really glad that I tried for something that I thought I wanted in my life, and like I don't regret it at all. I'm very happy to be here.
Even if you're hesitant, it's better to have the option than not. Like, coming to Minerva is definitely something that I don't regret either. So it's everything, that you make of it.
Yeah. So, since San Francisco is an expensive city to live in, how do students make ends meet?
Well, so San Francisco is definitely expensive, but we have a lot of like financial aid options here at Minerva, and work-study positions to help students, earn money while they're here to help afford living in expensive cities. Like, since all the classes live together, like, we always have to have RAs and everything too. So RAs, that's a work study position you could be making money from to help support yourself in San Francisco. There's people who help out with some of the people in the office in our headquarters building. There's people who do outreach. Maybe you've spoken to them before. There's a whole bunch of work study positions, people who take photographs, people who help organize events or work on research teams. So there's a lot of different positions for work study to help. There's a lot of really good financial aid offers. Minerva offers loans, work study, and scholarships. So for students who can't, afford to come to Minerva, Minerva really does try to create financial aid packages to help students be able to afford coming and living in these cities as well.
Yeah, and I think our financial aid is in line with Minerva's mission, which is to make education accessible to people who deserve it. So in that way, our financial aid packages are awarded on a need basis, which means they're awarded according to the financial circumstances of your family. And it doesn't matter where you're from, whether you're American or not. You're still gonna qualify for financial aid if your family needs it, as long as you're a student of Minerva, which is something really nice. And on top of that, work study positions are always something that adds value to just your learning experience. It may not be a formal learning experience in the classroom, but for example, us working as global application mentors, I learned how to better interact with people, how to represent an image of an organization that I belong to. I also have to do some paperwork, so I learned a lot as well, and that's really nice.
Yeah. The work study positions are also really good for what we have is a professional development team too that works with us, and they'll help kind of with your work study where you get assigned to help build up experience for you that you might need eventually going into the workforce as well later on. So the work studies aren't just to help you get financial aid now and to help your living expenses now, but also to help you eventually secure a future for yourself financially too.
Yeah. So summer plans. Are you applying for internships?
I am going to be applying for internships. I am not making a ton of plans in the summer just in case, but I'm not. You're never totally guaranteed internships, but Minerva really works hard to make sure that students who want internships will get them, which is really nice. Like I mentioned, we have a professional development team, which is kind of a form of career services at what other schools would have, but a lot more hands-on and personal. They organize meetings directly with the students where they'll help you, they'll read over your resumes, your cover letters, and they'll work with finding you opportunities to pursue your interests, to help build experience, and to get internships with organizations that you're really interested in as well.
Yeah, so over this summer I'm planning to travel, visit my family, and try to get an internship, which sounds like a lot, but we Minerva students, let me just stop it. Yeah, but so going back to Prof Dev, I think it's also really nice that Prof Dev puts in effort in connecting you to organizations that you may be interested in, and they really help explain Minerva to them. So a lot of the applicants or students may be concerned about how to explain Minerva since it's so new and novel to potential employers. Prof Dev really helps you with that. At the same time, we also have our school has a network with partner organizations and corporations in the cities that we're in and the cities that we're not in. So internships aren't limited to the countries that you're in. I know students who go to Japan, to Spain. It's really cool and it's really nice. As long as you want it, Minerva's gonna help you with it. And
yeah, you do have to want it, and you do have to be willing to put in the effort. Minerva isn't going to hand you internships on a platter. You will be expected to, put in some effort to actually write your own resumes, cover letters, get that experience, go to events, meet people, and do some networking. But they really do their best to make it as easy as possible for us to do that, and so that we're not struggling and wandering until, senior year and, what do I do now? I need connections. They work with us even as freshmen to help build those connections right from the start. So this question is about if we participate in hackathons or other competitions. I think, Ting, you can talk about some of the hackathons that you've participated in.
Okay. So hackathons are very common in the Bay Area, especially, right? So now in San Francisco, not just one hackathon a week, maybe like 2 to 3 hackathons a week, all over the Bay Area. Minerva students really like to go for them because like they give us an opportunity to apply our skills and concepts to solve like real life problems, and it's really nice, especially if the hackathons offer you an opportunity to put your idea into action. So we really go for that as a school. Quite recently, I had the opportunity to attend like the Singapore Airlines App Challenge. So basically, it's a hackathon where hackers come together to solve like Singapore Airlines specific business challenges. So me and a team, we're a total of 4 Minerva students. We were able to win the San Francisco qualifiers, and it was very exciting because we then flew to Singapore, which is my home, for the international like finals, and it was a great opportunity to just like meet people who were as interested as we were about solving real life problems with technology. It was a great chance again like to apply like our problem solving skills. So like in our Minerva curriculum in the first year, we learned quite a bit of problem solving skills, learning how to like break things down and look at things in a way to decide how we can most effectively intervene. I thought that was very helpful. And it was just like overall like a great opportunity, you know, to like push yourself to come up with a solution under time constraints and to go home.
Yeah, we do also have like some other things that other students are involved in, like friendly competitions and stuff. Like before last semester ended, there was some soccer matches and stuff that were going on. There's also like a whole bunch of like board game competitions that people have all the time. And there's a bunch of people who I think are interested in debate. I think we have a Miko for this, and they're working on, I think, joining like a debate league and getting into some tournaments. I'm not sure if they have yet or not, but look out for Minerva at your local debate tournaments sometime in the future, because you might see us there. But yeah, so if there's a competition in San Francisco that Minerva students have heard about it, there's probably going to be some of them there. It's a fact.
So, how do you speak with your family? I guess like for me, traveling like halfway across the globe can be a very big change in your lifestyle. So Singapore and San Francisco, we have I think a 16-hour difference. So it's kind of hard to coordinate time to like speak with your family. But with technological advances, I'm able to keep in touch with my family through like text messages, the occasional Skype calls. I make a commitment to like call my family once a week. I know students who call their parents like once a day, if time zones permit, just to say like hi, bye. It doesn't have to be a long conversation, you know. But it's really, it's a little bit hard to be away from your family. But at the same time, like technology really helps. You still get to keep in touch, and sometimes like you can send like cards. Like I send cards home for Christmas, which is I think nice on my part. So
yeah, definitely. You know, utilize email, Skype, Google Hangouts, FaceTime, text messages, whatever. Like all things on the internet, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, any kind of social media, just really helps you kind of stay in touch. Not only with your family, but also with friends that you might have back home as well. It's, with technology and everything on the internet, it's really easy to do that, I think. And while you're not probably going to be free of, missing people, your family, your friends back home, like, it's a lot easier than I think it would be if we didn't have these kinds of resources. But, like, also there's some people here, too, who just don't talk to their families at all. But it's a personal choice how much effort, you're willing. If you really, want to make the time, you're going to make the time to, talk to your family as much as you can. If you tend to get too wrapped up in things that are going on here and, sometimes forget to make that call like every other day or something, like that can happen too. So it depends on, your own involvement with the community, your involvement with your family, and your emotional ties to both. But it's definitely if you want to keep in touch with your family, it's not going to be that hard for you to do so.
So, can international students receive financial aid? Yes, they can. So, Minerva is committed to making education accessible to students who deserve it. I'm from Singapore. I'm on financial aid. And I think like a large proportion of our student population is actually under financial aid.
Yeah.
About 80 to 90%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So financial aid is really, it'll come by if you need it, as long as you apply for it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And like Minerva really works at getting, making it affordable for you and your family, which I really appreciate.
Yeah. So if you're worried about not being offered financial aid just because you're from a different country, like it's the same as with our admissions process. We, like there's no like quotas that we have to give financial aid to like certain types of people first or anything. Like it's all need based, like no matter where you're from, like as long as you apply for financial aid, you're probably going to get financial aid. So yeah, if that's it, just make sure you fill in your financial aid application, and then you should be able to be, you'll probably be fine, and Minerva will do their best to make things affordable for you. How do you convince your parents to let you go to Minerva?
This is a little bit difficult because my parents didn't want to let me come to Minerva. Also because it's new and like it can be quite scary for your parents. Like if you think about it, to like let the child go to a new school with no graduates. But I shared with my parents like why I chose this school, like why it was so important to me that I had this global exposure, that I had this skills-oriented kind of like curriculum and learning experience. Minerva also can help arrange for parents of students or for students to speak with your parents. If your parents would like to hear from students here, that is definitely something we could arrange for. Just reach out to us through our website. Yeah, but like if you truly believe in Minerva, I think at least for me, I felt like just coming to Minerva and showing my parents like how I was going to grow at Minerva was the best way to convince them that Minerva is the right choice for me.
Yeah. For me, convincing my parents is a two-step process. The first thing was convincing them that me applying was, going to be super cool. Because when I first found out about Minerva, I remember I found out about it and I spent 4 hours online just going through the entire website, and I was just like, this is the school for me. I love this school. And I ran to my mom's room at 1 in the morning. I was like, Mom, I'm gonna go here. And my mom was just like, why? I thought you were gonna you applied to other schools. What? And so the first step was convincing them I'm going to apply, and this is an opportunity that I want to have, whether I get in, whether I don't, whether it's financially reasonable for me to go or not. I'm at least going to apply. And I was able to convince my parents that because 1, the application's free. 2, I could do it on my own without them knowing technically too. So, so I kind of convinced them that I was going to apply and that if I did get in, that I really did want to go. The second step for me convincing my parents was Ascent Weekend. I brought my father with me to Ascent Weekend, and while Ascent's primarily for admitted students, you're allowed to bring your parents, and there's activities for your parents to do too. And I had a pretty good time myself, and my dad was able to learn a lot more about Minerva too. And I think that really helped in convincing my parents, that this was the school for me, this was really where I wanted to end up being. So I would say, yeah, if you are accepted to Minerva and your parents are like, I don't really want you to go, bring them to Ascent. We will help you.
So next question is, what is binding enrollment? So, if you're sure that Minerva is your first choice school and you'd like to come to Minerva, no matter what, you should opt in for binding enrollment. So what binding enrollment does is you basically making a commitment to say that if Minerva does admit you as a student, you're going to enroll in Minerva, you're going to come to Minerva. The benefits of opting for binding enrollment means that you get a decision within 4 weeks of the submission of your application, and that could really facilitate your college application process. Because it gives you time to apply to other colleges if you don't get into Minerva, but it also saves you the effort of applying to other colleges if Minerva accepts you.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there is a fee for binding enrollment, but and you won't be like getting this like fee like directly back to you if you do get accepted. It will go towards your like school tuition and stuff after you choose binding enrollment and after your decision and stuff. So binding enrollment, like if you can't afford it, it's not going to be the end of the world. You're not weighed any differently if you choose binding enrollment or not. So if you can't afford to pay the fee for binding enrollment, like regular enrollment just means that you're going to get your decision a little bit later, but it's going to be evaluated the exact same. So don't worry about that, like completely changing your decision because you had binding enrollment or not. It's not going to be that kind of swaying factor.
Yeah, so that being said, if you are planning to apply for financial aid, binding enrollment might not be the best decision for you, because the $500 deposit has to be paid within 10 days of receiving your decision, but you might not receive your financial aid within those 10 days. But yeah, as Erin said, whether you offer binding enrollment or not, it's not going to affect how we evaluate you as an applicant. We evaluate all applicants fairly and holistically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what city are you looking forward to the most, and why?
I think I'm looking forward to the most, probably at this point, Taipei, because it's the home of like boba tea, and I really like boba tea. So I think Taipei is going to be a lot of fun. Also, I think it's going to be one of the more challenging cities, which also really excites me, just because I do not know Chinese or Mandarin at all, and that's going to be pretty challenging, and I think exciting to attempt to learn. It's going to be fourth year kind of stuff, but I'm definitely looking forward to it a lot.
I think I'm looking forward to Buenos Aires. I think because like I've never been to the South America continent, so that's one thing. And also I think it's a place that's very rich in culture. So are the countries around it, and like I'm just so excited like to just go to Buenos Aires and explore the cities around Buenos Aires and the countries around like Argentina. Like I just know it's gonna be super exciting with my friends, and I'm just gonna like, yeah, and also because like I don't speak I think they speak Spanish there, right? Or Portuguese.
Spanish.
Yeah, they speak Spanish there, and it's gonna be hard, but I like that.
Yeah, Buenos Aires is gonna be a lot of fun as well. Yeah. So also, we also have some other content and videos and stuff that, if you didn't have your question answered, or if you were like, wow, I need to learn more about this school, we have an Instagram and Facebook where you can follow us there. There's usually updates like every day with something that's either going on in Minerva, some kind of story, some article that you can read and get more information about student lives, just different things that are going on at Minerva everywhere. We also have this cool video kind of showing a bit of student life and how things work at Minerva called Liberty Video. You can check it out on our Facebook page. And yeah, you can always go back to the website too where the application is. There's tons of information there. If you didn't hear stuff you wanted to learn about, like courses or what courses are offered, there's like a whole list of everything there on the website too, and tons more if you have other questions or a burning desire to learn a lot more about Minerva. So other than that, just make sure that if you are applying for the regular Decision 2-1 cycle, the deadline is January 15th. Please get your applications in on time. We really would appreciate that a lot. Other than that, this has been pretty fun. I'm Erin.
I'm Ting.
And thank you.